Hello, everyone. It's Helen here with Health and with Helen. Thanks for joining me. Well, today is officially the day, and we are going to make a follow-up video on coming off of your PPI is possible. I just got my year-end review from YouTube yesterday, and they said that this is still the #1 video being watched after 3 years. And so what that tells me is there are still so many people struggling from severe acid reflux. And I know this firsthand because I have so many people who reach out to me who are struggling from acid reflux. And I just want to say thank you so much for watching my video. But I also want to say thank you so much for entrusting me with your personal acid reflux journey, because I know how hard it is and I can relate to you. And I just want you to know that I truly, truly care. In fact, the thing that makes me the saddest is that we only get a couple minutes together. You know, we get a couple little exchanges and that's it. And I wish that we could have like a week or a month or a year where we could talk about all things acid reflux related. In fact, I had somebody in the comment section say, you should start an acid reflux channel. And I was just like, oh, I should. But then I'm like, no, I have a page. We already have a channel going. And so I thought, but what I really truly need to do is maybe talk about it a little bit more, because so many people are struggling with it. And that way we can all talk about it. We can all lean on each other. We can all offer each other things that work or don't work. We can talk about medications. We can talk about procedures, all things acid reflux related, because obviously it is needed. If you haven't watched my first video, coming off of PPI is possible, and you're watching this one, go back and watch that one and then come back and watch this one. It's been a minute since I've even watched it, so I need to go back and watch it. But I can tell you that I made that video a long time ago. In fact, it was right when I was first just coming off of my PPI. It was just right at the beginning stages, but I was so excited, because how many people know that a day is a win when you're coming off of your PPI? You're just like, oh my goodness, I've been off a day or 2 days or 3 days. I mean, it is huge, because we know that all it takes is one bad day and then we have a rebound, and then we're back on that PPI. So every single day that you're off of it is truly a win. It's truly a blessing. And so for anybody who is struggling from severe acid reflux today, I just want to tell you, do not give up hope, because healing is possible. And I can tell you this because I have experienced it firsthand. In fact, I was a severe acid reflux sufferer for over 10 years. And I'm just going to give you a quick little overview of how sick I was, but I was so incredibly sick. I would wake up with chronic sore throats. I mean, my throat would be raw. My ears would be plugged with reflux. I would have constant congestion. I literally would aspirate reflux and get bronchitis from it. And there were times where I felt like genuinely I was having a heart attack, like an actual heart attack from acid reflux. And so if you are a severe acid reflux sufferer, you know exactly what I am talking about. And I've talked to other acid reflux sufferers, and they're like, yes, I actually went to the hospital thinking I was having a heart attack, to only find out that I was having acid reflux. And so I really, truly hope that you come into good hands if you are struggling from severe acid reflux and you're starting to deal with all sorts of things and you don't know what's happening, that you will come into competent doctor hands that will be like, you know what, it could be acid reflux. Because guys, I didn't come into that right away. In fact, when I would tell people like, hey, my heart's palpitating and it's coming out of my chest and I don't know what's happening, I didn't have people at first tell me like, hey, this could be acid reflux. I had to learn a lot of things the hard way. And so my prayer is that, one, that you're watching this channel and you're like, oh, okay, I did have that happen, and it probably was acid reflux related. So you're, and I'm not saying you don't rule out a heart attack if you got to go to the hospital, because you may be having a heart attack, but you also might just be having severe acid reflux. And so my suggestion is like, if you are starting to deal with that, you absolutely have got to get into a specialist, into a GI specialist. Now, I know a lot of the time you may have to have a referral from your doctor, or you can just call them. I know for me, I was able to bypass my general doctor and just call over to the GI specialist, and I was able to be seen because I was dealing with all GI things. My reflux started pretty mild. I would say there was a few years here and there where I would take maybe like a Rolaids or a Tums, and that would take care of it. And then there were my Pepcid AC years where I felt like that was a pretty good like over-the-counter medication for the time and for the reflux I was experiencing, because it was pretty mild, so I could take it from time to time. And it was also one that I used while I was pregnant. Definitely would want to check with your doctor, but something that my doctor said was relatively safe for me to take. And so I did take that a little bit. But after I had my son, within the next few years after that, I was having such severe acid reflux that I almost felt like I was having a heart attack. And it was the first time that I ever got bronchitis from it. And my throat was so raw that I could barely swallow for a couple weeks, that I knew that I needed to get into a specialist ASAP. And so the specialist, right away, we had an intake. We talked about everything that was going on. And typically they're going to want to look and see what's going on. They're going to want to get in there and do an upper GI, because that's really their only way that they can see, like, okay, does this person have a hernia? Do they have an ulcer? Are they struggling from, maybe cancer? I mean, there's so many different things that could be going on the inside. So they got to get in there. They got to look with a camera. You're going to be asleep. And it's easy, and it's a really simple procedure. In fact, I believe it's that twilight anesthesia. They put you out. You're out for literally, it feels like a minute, and then you're back up and going and stuff. And so it's not like the general anesthesia typically. And so it wears off relatively fast. But yeah, for me, it's just like, it was the first test that I ever had. And when I came out, the doctor told me, he said, Helen, you are going to need to go on a PPI. I'm going to put you on 40 milligrams, and it's going to be called Nexium, and you are going to stay on this forever. Okay, that was his words, that I was going to be on it forever. I was thinking a week, maybe 2. Growing up, if you had to take a round of antibiotics, it was 5 days, 10 days, 2 weeks, but I was just like, forever. So in that moment, I knew, like, I tucked it in my heart, and I'm like, I am not staying on this forever. I'll do what I have to do for now, but I'm not staying on this medication forever. But you guys, we do have to do what we have to do, and the body does need what it needs while it's healing. And so I think that we have to be kind to ourselves really during this process, because I know, like we said, there's so many times where you try to come off of your PPI because you're like, I'm ready to come off of it. And then you rebound maybe a week in, 2 weeks in, and you're just like, and you feel like you failed. Well, you didn't. That just means that your body still truly needed it. I cannot tell you how many times I tried to come off of my PPI before it finally stuck. And I felt it that last time, though. I knew it. Like, I felt it. My body was ready. It was ready. I felt healthier. I felt stronger. Things that I couldn't even think about, like foods or beverages that would usually make me cringe, because I'd be like, oh, that would make me sick. Like my throat would burn, or, oh, that would give me like the worst stomachache or the worst reflux. Like I couldn't even think of certain foods, or even if I smelled a certain smell, I'd be like, whoa. But all of a sudden now it's just like, oh, I was craving things. I could think of things. I could smell things again. And I was just like, my body's healing. And so when I decided to go off of it that final time, I knew, I was just like, okay, I'm going to really give this a go here. But I kept a little bottle of Nexium right next to the bed, just in case. But I am so happy, like I said, to tell you that at that time, I had only been off it a short period of time in that first video. It has now been 3 years. 3 years, over 3 years, I am PPI free. That is a miracle in itself, because had you seen me in 2015, I was 90 some pounds. Like death was knocking on my door. And I know I've talked about this before because I think it's really, really important. I was at a point in my life where it felt really, really hopeless. Like I would go to bed at night and I would think, I'm not going to wake up in the morning. I was so weak sometimes that I couldn't even answer the door. I was so malnutritioned. I was so bony. Like my pants were falling off me. It would take me hours to be able to drink a little boost, like a vanilla boost, just to get it down. And I would remember, like, after drinking that boost, I'd be like, oh, thank you for the vitamins, thank you, Lord Jesus, for just like giving me something. Like, there were times where I'd have to, like, the phone next to me, like, okay, maybe I'm gonna have to get like a drip IV to just get some fluids in me. And my mom would sit there and she would just like fold clothes next to me, and she wouldn't say a lot, but just her presence gave me so much hope. And so just like standing by the window and like feeling the sunshine on my back or seeing some flowers on my dresser would be like, okay, you're still alive, you're still here. So guys, it was grim, and I was so unbelievably sick. I spent a lot of the time in the hospital when I was suffering from severe acid reflux. In fact, I ran into a guy probably about 6 months ago when I was walking. He was a fireman who had worked with my husband, and he thought, like, when I seen him, it was like he had seen a ghost. He literally teared up. He was just like, oh my goodness. Like, he couldn't even believe I was the same person, like that I was alive. One, that I was alive, but that I was here and I was healthy and I was strong. He was like, you were so sick. You were so sick. And I'm like, I know. I was so sick. And I just tell you guys this because I want you to know that if even at your darkest, lowest moment right now, there's still hope. Do not give up. Don't stop praying, because I've lived it. And, I go back to those early days where I was going through all of the procedures. Guys, I was living in a doctor's office. I had numerous upper GIs. I was having colonoscopies. I was having gastric emptying studies. I was having esophageal manometries and Bravos and drinking chalk and you name it. I was doing it. And not only once, it was over and over and over, trying to figure out what was going on, what we were going to do. Ultimately, after several years, multiple doctors, switching states, I ended up finding a doctor, a GI specialist. I ended up finding a surgeon who finally looked at my charts, and they were like, oh, you poor thing. Like, what took you so long to get here? And I was just like, oh, finally somebody sees it. Finally somebody gets it. Finally somebody knows, and we're going to do this. We're going to do something about it, because I was looking at everything, every type of procedure you can imagine, from minimally invasive to the most invasive, which would be the Nexium fundoplication surgery, which is the golden star surgery for acid reflux. And I still believe it is today. So, but I was looking into all these different things. And in Colorado, when I finally made it there, they're like, wow, had you gotten to us sooner, we probably would have been able to do a minimally invasive surgery. So I spent so much time with so many doctors that were trying to figure it out, doing their best but ultimately ending up having to be my own advocate and having to travel out of state and not giving up and saying, no, I'm not going to give up. This isn't how it's going to end up having the Nexium fundoplication surgery for my acid reflux. I've had a lot of people ask me, Helen, do you think that you were able to come off of your PPI because you had surgery? And I'm going to tell you guys, I do believe it possibly has helped. This surgery has really helped. I had the surgery in 2015, so it was 10 years ago. And this is not a forever surgery, though. I know that they'll give it maybe, I believe, like a 10-year span. And then they're like, you may have to have it done again somewhere down the line. My dad ended up having the surgery as well because he suffered immensely from severe acid reflux. And I do believe toward the end of his life, maybe his had came undone because he was really kind of dealing with a little bit of reflux again. He was on a PPI. He was dealing with like the belching and like some of the gastric stuff. And so, but that was probably 20 years. He had it for about 20 years. So, I do believe everybody's different. Every situation's different, but I've had mine now for 10 years. And I can tell you, I know it did help immensely. It has helped immensely, but it wasn't a cure-all, you guys, because I had the surgery in hopes that, okay, I'm having the surgery. I'm still really young. I want to come off of this PPI. And I was off of it maybe for a couple weeks after the surgery because I was in hopes that like, oh, I can be done with this medication, only to end up back on it relatively fast. And so I was on 40 milligrams after my surgery for a couple of years. And then I was on 20 milligrams of it for several years. And so I was able to teeter down. And even that to me was a huge win, because when you've been on 40 milligrams for so long, the fact that I could go to 20 milligrams was a huge win for me over those years. But then obviously today I'm not on any PPI, you guys, and I don't take anything for acid reflux. Absolutely nothing. I don't take Tums, I don't take Rolaids, I don't take Pepcid, and I don't take Nexium. I take absolutely nothing for acid reflux. In fact, the only thing that I ever have to take, thank you, Jesus, and I don't say that lightly, is Gas-X every once in a while. Like I'll get a little bit of like gas, but that is all I do. So it's like if I have to take a Gas-X once or twice a week, just because I'm feeling like a little bit like whatever, because oftentimes the gas will give me some reflux in my sleep. And so I know my body to know like, if I'm dealing with some digestion stuff or anything like that, that I need to take a Gas-X, because otherwise it doesn't matter if I'm reclined up or if I'm laying flat, that is going to come up. I'm going to end up with like a sore throat in the morning or some reflux. And so I have to kind of keep the gas under control. But other than that, I absolutely don't have to take anything. And you guys, at this point in my life, now I'm eating a pretty regular diet. Now, do I have to watch it? I don't know that I'll ever get to go back to being normal there. That's probably just not in my genetics. It might not be in my wheelhouse until I get to heaven, because the truth is there are still a lot of things that would probably make me extremely sick. Like today, I can tell you, I still haven't had a red sauce. I still don't do pizza. I don't do spaghetti. I don't do lasagnas. I don't do chilies or broths or wings or carbonation. So I was never able to go back to a lot of that stuff, which I know some people were after they've had that surgery. So if you're one of those people, that is amazing. Or if you're going to have that surgery, I really hope that that works out for you so that you can have a normal lifestyle. I was never able to really go back to that, but I am able to eat so much more than I was able to. I'm up 20 pounds from where I was at, and I'm just so healthy and strong, and I'm not getting the colds and the flus. And I've just watched God just turn my whole life around and just heal my whole entire body. And, I can have things with seasonings now and cooked onions and, a little bit of, like I said, chilies. And I can, like my favorite little thing, if you've watched any of my videos, it's like Qdoba. I go over there and get a bowl, like a chicken bowl and stuff. And so those were things that I would have never dreamt that I'd even be able to do again, like ever. And so the fact that I'm able to even do things like that, and and then there's just a handful of things where I'm like, well, I'm going to have to wait to probably eat those until I go back home to heaven, because they're probably not going to be on this side of it. But just the fact that we're here and we're making this video and that I'm able to share all of this with you, and hopefully just giving you guys just a little bit of some encouragement and hope today, that it's like, do not give up, because I know I've experienced it, and I know that healing is absolutely possible, and I know that you can come off of your PPI. And so everybody is different. Everybody has reflux for different reasons. And so I know that sometimes it's more beneficial to stay on a PPI because you may have Barrett's esophagus, which would be cancer of the esophagus or precancer of this esophagus. And so for you, it's going to benefit you to stay on it. And if that is the case, then obviously we just pray that the body just continues to know what to do. You just continue to just heal, stay healthy and strong, and that you're able to just eat at least somewhat a normal diet. One of the things that I want to mention to you guys that I think is really important, that I haven't really been able to mention in like a full group, is that if your doctor is having an extremely hard time pegging, like, what could this possibly be? What is causing this severe reflux? We've ruled out all of these different things. Have them do a gastric emptying study. Some doctors will want to do it and some won't even mention it, because I've talked to people, I'm like, have you talked to your doctor about a gastric emptying study? Now, what this is it's going to check the motility of your stomach. And so there's different types of testing. Some do 2 hours, some do 4 hour. It'll just depend on the clinic that you have it done. You guys, this is an expensive test. I'm not going to lie. This one's expensive. However, I really think it's important, because that was something that I was struggling with that we didn't really find out until about 2 years in, is that I was having some delayed emptying, not just with liquids, but also with solid foods. And so that was something, the food was staying in my stomach way longer than it needed to. And so therefore it was causing a lot of reflux. It wasn't digesting the way it needed to. My son also deals with severe acid reflux, sadly. Genetics, I'm sure of it, and probably some dietary things, but it just kind of goes down the line. But I know firsthand as well that he deals with gastric emptying issues because he's had to have a gastric emptying study done. And so that probably contributes to some of his severe acid reflux. And so if your doctor hasn't suggested that particular test yet, have them hopefully call that in for you, because that would be really, really telling to you. So that way you would know, like, okay, this might be why I'm having this severe reflux. Now, they do have a couple procedures out for it now, whereas they didn't even like 15 years ago. I mean, I think there was like a couple medications which you really didn't want to take if you had gastric emptying issues because it caused other issues, even though I know some people who have severe gastroparesis and they have no choice, which that just breaks my heart, because I know that you probably do have to take that medication, and ultimately we already know the medication does cause some different things, and so that is so sad. Definitely praying for you. But I do know that now they have a couple different procedures that they can do for people who have gastroparesis. I know that pyloroplasty is one of them, and it's not definitely something that you would like, yes, let's do that, but it would definitely be something if you were having severe gastroparesis. And then I know that they have another one, and I can't think of it's like, maybe it's called Poem. Like, maybe that's it. I don't know. Somebody's going to correct me on this. I know it. But it was just mentioned recently, and it's a new procedure for people who are dealing with gastroparesis. And so that would be definitely something maybe that you could do or look into if you come to find out that you are struggling from that, and then that's what your reflux is being caused by. You guys, I actually had a surgeon here locally when they had done my gastric emptying study here, and I've had several gastric emptying studies, guys. I've had them here. I've had them in Colorado. They're not painful. It's a test where you have to eat some eggs and drink some stuff, and then they take a bunch of pictures of your stomach to see how fast the fluids go down, how fast the food digests, and so this test right here is painless. But I had a surgeon here actually tell me after I had that test done, and then seeing that, like, okay, you have delayed emptying, tell me that I would not be able to have the Nexium fundoplication surgery because I had gastroparesis. And I was like, wow, I was super discouraged because I was just like, oh, I'm sick. What am I going to do? And, after I was my own advocate and I traveled and went to Denver and seen the specialists there and talked to the surgeon down there, it was exactly the opposite. So that's why I tell you, don't just take one. You have to get second opinions, especially if you're not willing to live with the answer that you're getting. Like, no. I've got to continue on. And so the doctors in Denver, like I said, they were like, why haven't you been here sooner? Of course, we're going to do the surgery, and we're going to do it now type thing. And so I was able to have the surgery. And you guys, obviously nothing's going to be perfect, but everything is working really, really well. Even with that delayed emptying that I was experiencing and stuff, I've had no problem since having the Nexium fundoplication because of it. In fact, if anything, I feel like maybe by having the surgery, it corrected some of the gastroparesis, the gastric emptying issues that I was having, which is crazy enough because after I went and did a follow-up gastric emptying study after the surgery, the doctor said, wow, you're in the normal range right now. So I went from being abnormal and having a doctor tell me that I can't have the surgery because of it to having the surgery and then becoming normal. Like, it went back into the normal range. So my body actually corrected itself that way. And so you got to be your own advocate. However, definitely talk to your doctors about that particular test if they're not finding anything and you haven't had that one done yet. So that would be really telling for you. And if you have any more questions for me, shoot them in the comment section. Like I said, I want to make some more videos. I want to make some more diet videos, some more food videos. I definitely want to talk to you a little bit more in detail about the procedures again, if you guys would like that, and any other questions that you would have. Something else that just came to my mind, so I guess I'm going to mention it before I sign off today, is that On your diet, please keep a food journal. I actually went to a dietitian for a very long time who dealt with acid reflux and also helped me with gastroparesis diet. And so I was able to learn so many different things about like the timing of the day of eating certain things and what to eat and what not to eat. And so that was so beneficial, but just also keeping that journal and writing your food down and then like giving yourself some time, like how did this food make me feel? Because just because food made you feel one way one day doesn't mean you're necessarily going to feel the same way about it the next day. So you want to definitely try it over a period of time before you give it the big X. Like, I can't eat this. Okay. Now, if you're somebody like me and you had a brat out at the lake and then you were like, oh my goodness, I had such severe reflux that I couldn't swallow for 2 weeks, I think that gets an X, right? You're going to just X that baby off. I couldn't do sausage, brats, wings ever again, even if I wanted to. And so those are the ones where you're like, yeah, I'm not even going to try it because it's not even going to be worth it. So get rid of those. But I'm just talking about just like other little things, like, where it's just like maybe you eat a piece of pie and you're like, oh, I got reflux from it. Well, don't give up on all pie, and don't give up on pie necessarily, but maybe it's the kind of pie, or maybe it was the time of day you ate it, or maybe it was the combination of something that you had it with, because it really, really does matter the timing of day that you have something and the combination. And that's something that I've really been talking to my son about. I'm like, it's not that you can't have A, B, and C. You can, but you maybe can't have A and B together, or you can't have A, B, and C in the same day, or, it's really a timing thing. And that's why where this food journal will come into hand is it's like, just write down every little thing you put in your mouth, even if it's a piece of mint gum. You might think it's the food that's giving you the reflux, but maybe it's the mint gum that you had like an hour ago combined with some of the food that you just had, and I know some people are like, yes, mint gum helps. It helps with digestion. For some, I can't do mint. And so again, you have to play with it. That's why you write it down, because things that work for some don't work for others, and vice versa. And so I bought so many cookbooks early on, like acid reflux diet cookbooks, and all these recipes were in there. And I'm like, I can't eat any of that. Like, who even made these cookbooks? That just shows that we're all so different. And that's why you have to have your own book. You have to know what works for you, because you can't go off of people like, well, I can eat that and I can drink that. It's like, well, that's amazing, but I can't. So you got to have your own special book, and you can only have your own special book if you start writing it down, you start journaling, and like, okay, I can do vanilla this, vanilla that, but I can't do chocolate or strawberry this or that. And so you'll just kind of get a feel for your body. But again, as you heal and as time goes on and you see something, maybe you're like, maybe I'll try it again. Maybe you'll be in a healthier place. So we don't forever rule things off, but we just maybe put it in a box of like not now box, because there's so many things now that I can have that I wasn't able to have. And so I'm so glad that I didn't just like, oh, I'll never try it again type thing. And so, yeah, I think the food journal is going to be huge for you. And then the things that you combine it with, that's for certain, I have to laugh. One thing that like my son will do, like, because he still like wants to eat, like if he wants to eat spaghetti, he's going to have spaghetti. Okay. So he'll have like some spaghetti and he'll just pay the price type thing. So he'll do the spaghetti, but like maybe an hour later, it's just like, he'll have like a coffee, and I'll be like, oh no, you can't do that. You have to have the coffee if you're going to have the coffee, right? It's like, have it in the morning, or, morning. Yeah, morning. Nighttime's going to be no bueno for you too. So it's just like, just have it in the morning or have it somewhere in there. But it's just like, if you're going to try to have the spaghetti and then you're going to drink the cup of coffee, and then later you're going to, try to have like some, I don't know, Doritos or something, I'm like, you're in trouble. He's not eating Doritos, but I was just trying to think of a combination that would be a balm in the belly. But you get what I'm saying. You definitely just have to be careful. It's like really common sense stuff. Like in the morning, I can do a cup of coffee. Like I told you guys, I went to decaf years ago because I love the taste of coffee. I love it, love it, love it. I love the smell. I love the taste. But I went to decaf, okay? Because I was already not liking heart palpitations, the whole thing. So I do decaf, and I drink a cup of decaf in the morning, and then about an hour later, I do a vanilla boost every day. It's like clockwork. That's what I do. It's my thing. So I have that in the morning, and then I give myself like several hours typically before I even have like a little snack. And usually that's hopefully pretty bland on most days. And then I'll come in for like a late lunch, like kind of early dinner type thing. And then that's what I do. That's just kind of what works for me and my acid reflux and my digestion and all of my issues. And so that would be a typical day for me. But very, very rarely would you see me coming in, even with the boost, the vitamins. It's kind of a timing thing for me. Would you see me coming in with that coffee or boost like middle end of day after I've already had a bunch of food? Because I already know that I would get really bad reflux. And it's crazy because you're like, well, why? That doesn't make any sense. You could have it in the morning. Why can't you have it at night? Well, I don't know. I don't know. It's my body. I just know I can only have it in the morning because I have tried these things in the afternoon, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I get the worst sore throat and I get a stomach ache, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, that makes no sense. So you just have to know the timing that things work for your body. So I already know that happens in the morning, and obviously if you're somebody who's getting like severe reflux in the afternoon, it's like, well, then don't have the cup of coffee in the afternoon. That's just going to be bad news. So a lot of it is just like kind of like I joke around, but it's like common sense 101, because we have to learn the hard way, right? And we're all glutton for punishment. It's like, why do we even have to do that? It's like, we don't learn the first time, I might as well go in 10 more times. But anyways, I definitely wanted to touch on that as well. The food diary and journal and everything. And then as far as natural remedies, I know I've talked about this before as well too. Find something that works for you. If you're like, hey, I want to come off of it and I want to try apple cider vinegar, or I want to try aloe vera, or I want to try whatever it is, milk. I know some people really like milk. People who want to do that. I don't want milk. Milk will make me super, super duper sick. So I'm not going to do milk, but some people would do milk. And so anything that you're like, I want to try this coming off of it, well, that's wonderful. Give it a go. Guys, I did not do any of the natural remedies coming off. I just didn't. But my body is very sensitive and it's very finicky. And so for me personally, less is always more for me, whatever that the case may be, medication wise, natural alternatives, less is more, because what would work for other people would start like just a fireball in my stomach and would cause me so much reflux. So yeah, apple cider vinegar for other people is just like, they're like, yeah, they swear by it and it works. I'm like, wow, I am entertained and I love to hear that. Like when people say that, because when I think about it, I'm just like, oh, I'd be so sick. But for me, it's just like less was more. So I didn't do any of those things. But I know that a lot of people are like, I want to do these to come off of it, and need to do it for that. So you're just going to have to play around with that. I don't have any great answers for that. For me, like I said, it was just coming off of it slowly. Like it would be like, take one and then don't take one, take one, don't take one. And then I did that for like a couple of weeks and then, just came off of it. And it even got to the point where when I was trying to come off of it and like I would say like take one and I'd wait 2 days and then take one, I started to get reflux from that because I think my body was starting to get confused. Like, what are you doing? Why are you taking like one and then not taking one and then coming back and trying to take one? Because the body knows what to do. It really, really, truly does. It's just this miraculous system. And so my body was starting, I think, to get like irritated with me. And so finally I was just like, we're done. We're not even going to do this like thing anymore. And that was that. So, but you might want to check with your doctor and see what they recommend. And my doctor was just like, you know what, do it. And I did have a specialist tell me this. And I know I've talked to you guys about this before, but if you can go 21 days, it sounds like you're over the hill. That's what my doctor told me. That's what my specialist said. If you can get through that 21-day mark, you're going to be okay. So try it out, you guys. I'm praying for you. I'm rooting for you. And if you have any questions at all whatsoever, nothing is crazy, nothing is silly, it's nothing I haven't heard, it's probably nothing I haven't experienced, please reach out to me and I will definitely respond. Now, I want to throw something out though, because there are a few people that I was really like into conversations with and we were trying to talk and chat. And then I would try to send you like a really lengthy message or even like a medium-sized message. And it wasn't going through anymore. After we had like several exchanges, it just wouldn't go through. I couldn't send you anything else. And I don't know what was going on there. So don't think that I just dropped you off and was like, well, you know what? I'm not going to respond anymore. That wasn't the case. I was actually trying to respond to a few of you, even a longer message, and it just wouldn't like allow me to send it. So I'm not sure if it was something on my end or what was going on, but it happened to me a few different times with a few different people. So I'm not exactly sure why that happened. But if you ever truly need somebody to talk to, I am a life coach, and I would absolutely love for you to contact me and we could talk about acid reflux related things. And so if that's ever something you want to do, please shoot me a message, PM me, and we could get together and we can talk, or you can call me, or we can do whatever we have to do to hopefully get some of your questions answered and hopefully get you back to feeling better. And so again, I'm praying. I know that God is a healer. He healed me, and I know if he healed me, I know for certain he will heal you. And so God bless everybody. Thanks for watching, and I hope today that this really gave somebody some encouragement and some hope, because I'm telling you, I'm a walking, talking testimony that you can come off PPI and that he does heal. So have a great evening. Bye-bye.